Hi Gemini, I'm Zach, and welcome to the channel. This is Challenge of Vedic Astrology and Tarot, and today we're going to be talking about the Saturn transit in Aquarius. Now, before I get into that, let's talk about when Saturn was in your 8th house in Capricorn. So, during this time period, you would have maybe required a surgery. There could have been possibly some death in the family that you experienced. You could have gotten into the occult during that time. Also, there could have been some transformation of your beliefs during that time, because the ninth lord of a person's beliefs and religion, philosophy, was in the 8th house of transformation. Also, you could have experienced sun ups and downs. Saturn would have made you deal with those during this past about 3 years, Gemini. Also, you may have experienced a slow transformation during that time. Now, Saturn is moving into your 9th house, into Aquarius. So, 9th house represents father, it represents your teachers, your gurus, it represents religion, philosophy, represents long distance, like pilgrimages, so long distance travel, and if I didn't mention it already, higher education. Now, Saturn here, for your father and for your teachers and gurus, they can be experiencing some health issues during this time. They could be going through some sun ups and downs. Also, either during this transit or during the previous transit when Saturn was in Capricorn, your father or your teachers could have required a surgery. Now, Saturn represents responsibility. So you might be having to help your father or your teachers during this time. You could be being more diligent about religion. Also, 9th house represents law, so there could be a legal issue that comes up, especially with Saturn's aspect on the 6th house of Scorpio. 6th house represents litigation, so there could be some legal issue, like I said. Now, you could also travel to a foreign place or long distance. Like if you're in the U.S., you could travel from the East Coast to the West Coast. But yeah, also Saturn being in the 9th house. 9th house represents the thigh region. You could have some aches and pains in your thigh during this time. Now let's get into the aspects of Saturn. So Saturn is going to have a 3rd, 7th, and 10th aspect. So the first thing I want to say about this, the 3rd aspect is going to be on the 11th house. That represents elder sibling and friends. It's also going to be aspecting the 3rd house. That represents younger sibling, and it also represents friends, neighbors, cousins. So you might notice when it comes to your network circles, having to be more responsible, more diligent when it comes to them. They could be experiencing hardships. Also, Saturn represents restriction, boundaries. So you could have trouble. You could have trouble with the with making new friends during this time. You could have trouble, communicating with your friends, with your siblings. They could be going through hard times. Now, the 3rd aspect of Saturn is where effort's required. So Saturn's going to require that you put effort into your friendships, effort into helping your elder sibling, and Also, 11th house represents gains, hopes, wishes, desires. So Saturn's going to require you to put effort into making those things happen. Now, let's see. 11th house is also large network circles. So you might be having to put effort into maybe going to conferences, large gatherings during this time. Now, 7th aspect of Saturn is going to be on the 3rd house. Now, 3rd house represents communication, it's media, it's short distance travel. So Saturn is sitting in a house of travel and is aspecting a house of travel. So there can definitely be travels coming during this time, like I said. Also, 3rd house represents writing and 9th house represents publication. So if you are into writing, into publishing, you're a Gemini ascendant or moon sign, if you're watching this video, and Gemini is the original sign of writing. So Geminis can often become writers. So if you are looking to publish a novel, during the Saturn transit is when that could happen. If you're wanting to write a novel, during the Saturn transit is when that could happen. Now, let's see. Okay. Now, the 10th aspect of Saturn is going to be on the sign of Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is your 6th house. 6th house is legal battles, it's enemies, it's pets, it's your it's debt, it's your maternal aunts and uncles. So, for instance, your maternal aunts and uncles could be experiencing some hardship during this time, and they need your help. On top of that, you could get a new pet during this time. You could be trying to reduce your debt. See, Saturn being in Saturn, when he aspects the 6th, 8th, or 12th house, suppresses those houses. So with him aspecting the house of debt, he is wanting to restrict and lessen your debt. But Saturn makes you work hard. Now, 6th house is also health. So Saturn's going to require that you work on your health. Now, on top of this, like I said, Saturn in the 9th house represents law. It's aspecting the 6th house of legal battles. So you could be experiencing a legal issue during this time, during the Saturn transit. Now, at the same time, the sign of Scorpio is going to be aspected by the 3 slower moving physical planets. Now when this happens, you'll notice major events tied to that house. So Saturn's going to be aspecting Scorpio, Jupiter's going to be aspecting Scorpio, and Mars is going to be aspecting Scorpio. So there are going to be major changes that take place in the sign of Scorpio for you, Gemini. Now, that's major changes with your health, major changes. Now, if you're in good health, I'm not saying you're going to go through, all of a sudden becoming, weak and sickly. No. But there will be events that pop up that you're going to need to deal with. Now, this is going to happen until March 12th. Now, on top of that, like I said, there could be a legal issue that comes up. You could get a pet during this time. Something you come up with your maternal aunts or uncles during this time as well. On top of that, there could be some debt that needs to be taken care of during this time. Just expect something major regarding those things to happen from now until March 12th. Alright, Gemini. That's what I have for you for the Saturn transit into Aquarius. And if you'd like to book either a Vedic astrology or a tarot reading with me, you can do it so at my website. It'll be linked in the description box below. And I'll catch you in the next one, Gemini.